SummerSlam 2023 is in just a few days and the show looks extremely promising. A strong card, great stories coming in, and it seems like most of the matches will give you something a little different, which is exactly what makes a great show: variety and variation. I want to talk about some of the matches, and one of the big four is Finn Balor versus Seth Rollins. To me, for the longest time, main roster Finn Balor's whole personality was, I'm the first ever Universal Champion, and not really much more aside from that. His runs on NXT, obviously they gave you a little bit more, but him in the Judgment Day just feels different. It feels like he's got a reason to be who he is, and that's when a character works. The WWE using the story of Finn, a guy who is supposed to be earmarked for success, someone who got injured on that come up, as the reason for him being the ultimate Rollins hater, is a job well done, and it makes sense. Finn thinks that his destiny hasn't been achieved because of Seth Rollins. At this point, it makes sense for him to do it, especially for the moment to come at the same show where it went wrong for him 7 years ago. You could also argue that there may not be a better story than this for Finn to do it and get an eventual world title reign. In my head, the perfect scenario was Seth Rollins holding the World Heavyweight Championship until WrestleMania 40 and then dropping it to Gunther, because I really think that Rollins should have a decently long title reign, which he hasn't had since 2015, but I think Finn's story just makes too much sense at this point. If not now, then when? The counter argument I've seen to this is the World Heavyweight Championship is still in its infancy and that Rollins needs more time with it. I don't really agree with that because this title was brought in for people to win it. Hot potatoing it, obviously that's a different story. We don't want that. But here it just makes sense. Also, the WWE has presented Judgment Day as the stable on Monday Night Raw. Priest as Mr. Money in the Bank, Dom as North American Champion, Rhea as Women's World Champion, and Finn as the Men's World Champion. That would be the ultimate peak before the group's eventual downfall. I also wouldn't want them to do something where Finn wins and then Priest cashes in right away. I think a slower build to this would be really beneficial. Let Finn have his world title reign, keep Priest as a constant threat. What Seth does after this, I don't really know. It's tough because, like I said, Rollins deserves a longer reign because of all the work he's put in. Speaking of a guy that's put in work, Gunther. His match with Drew McIntyre at SummerSlam has huge potential to be a match of the year contender. The debate on this one, I don't think it's as divisive as the other ones. To me, it should be Gunther. He needs to go on to break the Honky Tonk Man's record. No points in getting this close and having him lose. To play devil's advocate, the only counter argument to this debate that I could think of is why bring back Drew McIntyre if he's just gonna lose. I see him losing this match and then going on a rogue heel run. I don't think he'll be too harmed by it, especially if they use it to light a fire under his ass for the heel run. Gunther's Intercontinental Championship run has been really strong. He's got classic matches inside the ring, and again, he's turned the title into what it should be, the workhorse's title, and it's for someone who's eventually going to enter the main event scene. It's perfect. Now let's talk about the main event. Tribal Combat, Roman Reigns and Jey Uso. And I'll say this, any good writer, anyone who's putting together a story will have the hero come out on top and tie up all the loose ends and end it the way it started. The good guy will prevail and the story will come full circle. The hero finally gets one over on the villain after having to go through the ringer at their hands, Jey overcoming psychological trauma and emotional abuse. Anyone who's followed the story knows it's been Jey who's been the constant and how he is the focal point of this story. Now, do I think Jey will win? No. Do I want Jey to win? I don't think so, because the first thing to me that immediately comes to mind is how do you book a Jey Uso undisputed title reign? And yes, I get the argument that you'd want to keep the whole story a family affair and have it remain on someone who's been a constant in the story, but aside from the bloodline being in the picture, how far does the longevity of Jey Uso as a top guy really go? It's been 3 years. The guy who takes it off Roman is going to have huge shoes to fill. Is Jey that guy? I don't think so, but also I can't judge what I haven't seen. I'll put it to you like this, every time I wrap my mind around the idea that, oh, what a satisfying finish this will be, the bigger picture I think of is what do they do with Jey? The person who beats Roman has got to be primed to be the next face of the company. On the other end of the spectrum, the moment would be gratifying. For everyone who's watched, it would be the perfect ending. So many times these moments have been taken away from us. Drew to Sami to Cody, and much like WrestleMania 39, there's suspense heading into this match. If not, then how much longer will they be able to keep the suspense of, oh, Roman might lose? But Also, maybe the moment for Jay was just to be the one person who finally proved that Roman is human after all by pinning him, and that loss is what gave Roman the internal struggle. I also got to address something that's been emerging on WWE programming, and that's the narrative that Jay doesn't want to be the tribal chief, but Solo Sikoa does. Someone who sees that honor as the ultimate prize. And since Jay is fighting for it, it really bugs him. There's always that line, the elders sent Solo. What if the end game is Solo was sent to take down the tribal chief? Not for the titles. Let's say Cody wins the titles off Roman. The only title left on Roman is tribal chief. And then Solo takes that and they make another big star. Since I'm giving my thoughts on SummerSlam in this video, one aspect of this story that I'm just not understanding is why they aren't leaning into what's gone on over the past 3 years with Jay. The basis for the SummerSlam match is that Jay had his brother taken away from him and that he pinned Roman earlier. Alright, but what about the element of Jay being the guy who's been brainwashed? Why is that being forgotten? That's one thing I haven't been able to wrap my mind around, as I thought that surely that's got to be the direction that they take with this thing. To me, if I'm looking bigger picture, does Jay winning the title tie up the story nicely? Yes, but I always bring it back to Kofi Mania, where the chase is more fun than the reign and it just ends up being whatever. Sure, you might want it now, but what happens afterwards? And to me, I'd say Roman's got to keep it, but you guys let me know. One of the things that doesn't entirely make sense to me on this card is why there's also no stipulation for Brock and Cody. That would have just made sense. A bull rope match or 3 stages of hell. I felt like it needed something bigger, something more barbaric, a big car crash because of how much these two men have brawled and the amount of punishment that Cody's taken. That's one part of the SummerSlam card that just seems odd and incomplete to me, but regardless, that could be another great match. Shayna and Ronda in an MMA rules match is a strong choice. They did a great job at building up the story on Monday Night Raw, giving you a look at both women's backstory, and we got to see both of them in more of a human element. The use of a video package here is exactly what it needed to be. It's going to be a fight, and yet again, another strong matchup. One match that's probably not going to be much of a fight, but more of a 1,000 miles per hour showcase is Logan Paul and Ricochet. Flip, 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 dive, 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 crazy spot, crazy kick out. Logan Paul records something on his phone. Ricochet does something out of a video game and somehow survives, and then one of the two guys wins. This genuinely could be one of the best SummerSlam openers ever. Logan has to leave to get to Jake's fight later in the night, so this being the kickoff, buckle up because this is going to be a fun one. With Ricochet, it feels like they're finally finding the sweet spot with him. He gives me Shelton Benjamin vibes whenever he's in a ladder match. You know he's a highlight reel and he's going to end up doing something wild. This match has been brewing since the Rumble and we're finally getting it. I think it could be another match of the night contender. It's a really strong show. There's a Slim Jim Battle Royal on the card and it does really seem like it's there just for LA Knight. Maybe it'll finally be the kickoff to his push. Hopefully the rest of the field is rounded out by stars who aren't really doing anything aside from just filling it with a bunch of guys who you know aren't gonna win. Put Styles in there, put Waller in there if he's not doing anything. Give everyone a chance to shine, and the one thing that I think could make it better is have the winner get a mid-card title match if they're choosing. Then it has stakes and it makes it worth watching even more. 8 matches on the card seems like a healthy amount. I was worried that we were going to get around 10 there for a bit, but it's okay. We have a women's triple threat match from SmackDown, which could again end up being a match of the night contender. Charlotte in a triple threat match, she just doesn't miss. There's so many different variables of what could happen on this show. Do we get a big turn in the Judgment Day? Do we get another crazy spot like last SummerSlam? Who wins Tribal Combat? Which matches shine? And do we get some returns? There's always the rumor mill, which should be taken with a grain of salt, but maybe Bray comes back. Maybe we hear voices once again and everything is right in the world. It's just been so damn long. The show's got a lot of potential to be really fun, but at the same time, I hope that everything gets enough time. I've been saying it for a while that SummerSlam is finally starting to feel like WWE's second biggest show, but if this show can deliver, it might just be the best show of the entire year. But yeah, nothing too crazy in this one. I just wanted to hop on, talk about the show. Nothing too crazy, no big research, no edits in this one. Sometimes it's nice to get away from that. I'm excited. I'll be there, my 3rd straight SummerSlam. Let me know what match you guys are excited for, the scenarios you see shaping out. I'll catch you guys in the next one.